Our story today is about a milk bottle. This milk bottle, and the trip it took on the train. Now, how can a milk bottle tell a story? Well, I visited a milk bottle where it lives in the museum, and I thought, this thing must have an interesting story. So I took it off the shelf, and I went like this, and I listened very carefully. And the milk bottle told me the story, which I wrote down. And the story goes like this. I am quite old now and have been retired from working for many years. Luckily I have a nice home at the Parry Sound Museum and have been able to stay there instead of being broken or thrown in the garbage. I am a milk bottle. I bet none of you nice young people have ever seen a milk bottle. Cardboard cartons and those plastic bag things have taken the jobs of us old milk bottles. But let me tell you, we have had some adventures that newer milk containers will never have. When I was 4 or 5 months old, I had been in and out of many refrigerators in Parry Sound. Not all of them were electric refrigerators. Many were old-fashioned ice boxes cooled by real blocks of ice taken from Georgian Bay in the wintertime. One day, though, I and many other milk bottles were being packed in wooden boxes for a journey on the train to Point Barrow. We were so excited. None of us had ever been on a train before, so this was going to be a real adventure. All of us milk bottles carried milk for the Georgian Bay Creamery, where Orr's Deli is now, and we had Georgian Bay Creamery in elegant black letters on our bodies. So we were filled up with milk at the creamery, had cardboard stoppers put in our mouths, and little things like paper hats over the stoppers so they wouldn't pop out and make a mess. Into our boxes we went, and then onto a truck for the journey to the train station, which you would know today as the station gallery. It was a hot, hot summer afternoon, and we sat in the sun for over half an hour as the train was a bit late. We were used to refrigerators or ice boxes when we were full, and by the time the train showed up, some of us were feeling pretty peculiar. Into the baggage car we went, and the train started on its way. It stopped here and it stopped there. Nobel, Carling, Woods Road, Shawniga, and finally the baggage man rolled open the big door on the side of the baggage car saying, "Okay kids, your turn now. Here's Point Barrow." We were unloaded and put on another truck. Where to now? Well, we had our answer very shortly. The truck took us down a hill to a dock where we were loaded onto a boat. My goodness, we had never been on a boat either. This would be fun, except we and the milk inside us were getting really warm and something nasty was happening to the milk. This was not good at all. The boat was run by a Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed started the boat, and now we were on our way to, well, where? It took an awfully long time, almost an hour, and then we were unloaded at a place called Ojibwe Island. There was, and still is, a store on Ojibwe Island, and a nice young man took us into the store and put us in a refrigerator. Being in a refrigerator again felt pretty good, but our milk had gone way sour, and we still felt a bit queasy. The next morning, people came for their shopping, and one by one, my bottle friends were taken out of the refrigerator to make their way to different people's cottages. Finally, it was my turn. I was bought by a very nice family, Mr. and Mrs. Duff, and their 2 children, Deirdre and Stephen, that's me, and they put me in their boat on a fresh block of ice for the trip to their cottage. I felt badly because my milk was now beyond sour. It was more like cottage cheese or yogurt. "Let's have a glass of milk," said Stephen, just as I was about to go into the icebox at the Duff's cottage. "All right," said Deirdre. Uh-oh, I thought, they are in for a nasty surprise. Stephen poured the milk and Deirdre took the first sip. "Ooh," she cried, "this is horrible!" I was so embarrassed. "What's the matter?" asked Mrs. Duff. "This milk is bad, real bad." "Put it back in the bottle then," said Mrs. Duff. "Oh no, I didn't want to be filled with that stuff again, and were they going to throw me in the garbage?" "Okay," said Deirdre, "what do we do with the bottle?" "Oh no, I was too young to go in the garbage." "Keep it," said Mrs. Duff. "There are things I can do with that milk." "Like what?" asked Deirdre. "Just trust me," said Mrs. Duff. That evening, Mrs. Duff took me out of the icebox and poured my milk, whatever you call it by then, into a
Get
big
something
bowl.
for you?
Oh my, that felt better.
Like?
She left me on the
This?
kitchen counter where I could watch.
Train?
And she went to work with a special recipe
The one
for
for
sour
babies.
milk
Pardon?
pancakes.
For babies.
I know it sounds gross, but the pancakes really were delicious. I know because everyone said so at dinner time. It was such a wonderful treat, and even though milk bottles need no food, I could smell the pancakes and wish they were a person, so I could have some too. After dinner, I had a nice bath and was put in a special box for return to the store at Ojibwe Island. All my milk bottle friends together once again made the journey back to the Georgian Bay Creamery. It was a fun trip. Everyone had a story to tell. Nearly everyone had ended up carrying sour milk, and one bottle told about how his milk had gone so horrible it wouldn't even come out. He got straightened out by a wooden spoon. As for me, nobody had a story like mine. Using sour milk? Unbelievable. But Mrs. Duff had done it, and she had done it very well. Thank you.
Thomas's mother said, "We will see about that." The next day, when it was time to go to school, the mother said, "Thomas, please put on your snowsuit." And Thomas said, "No!" See, there's a picture of the snowsuit. How'd you guys like to have that? Eh?
It is ugly.
Back in my days, when I was a kid at Depot Harbor, we didn't have snowsuits. They didn't have them in those days. His mother jumped up and down and said, "Thomas, put on that snowsuit." And Thomas said, "No!" So Thomas's mother picked up Thomas in one hand, picked up the snowsuit in the other hand, and she tried to stick them together. There was an enormous fight, and when it was done, Thomas was in his snowsuit. See that?